Thank you for the invitation. Today I want you to reflect on a subject that is not merely political, but deeply human, the ongoing tragedy unfolding before our eyes and its repercussions for the future of the world. The Palestinian question, a long-standing and...
Harris, can you please have it in full screen?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat?
Can you put your presentation in full screen?
Yes, give me a sec to see how can I do that.
It's from the bottom. On Zoom.
Right now, maybe?
F5. Do you press on F5? Open the PowerPoint.
I think I'm already sharing my screen, full screen.
Yes, your screen is shared, but we can see the whole Microsoft settings on top. If you can have it on full screen, if not, we'll just try to. If it's not, yeah. It's not clear, so you need to do it a full screen. If it's possible, you do it on not Zoom, on your original. Yeah.
Right now?
Yes, it's better.
It's better?
Yeah, it's better. A bit
Perfect.
better, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I would like to invite you to reflect on a subject that's not merely political, but deeply human, the ongoing tragedy unfolding before our eyes and its repercussions for the future of the world. The Palestinian question, a long-standing and unresolved issue, stands on the crossroads of history, geopoliticals and global justice at a criminal juncture. We will examine how the genocide in Gaza reshapes our sense of responsibility, solidarity, and the structure of the global order. In 2025, the reality of war is more present than any time since World War II. The tense situation and competing geopolitical interests in the Middle East place Palestine at the center of global strategic concerns, as numerous countries are directly or indirectly involved in this complex geopolitical chessboard. For instance, the United States remains Israel's main ally, providing over $500 million in military aid and using its veto power in the United Nations Security Council to block resolution condemning Israeli actions. At the same time, Russia, while maintaining ties with Israel, seeks to exploit regional instability to counterbalance United States dominance, whereas China presents itself as a neutral actor aiming to exert influence through economic diplomacy and its Belt and Road Initiative. Furthermore, United States support for Israel is based not only on military alliance, but also on the perception that Israel serves as a strategic outpost through which the United States can intervene in the Middle East under the pretext of instability. This role also positions Israel as a counterweight to Iranian influence. The United States consistently prioritizes Israel in any negotiation between Israel and Palestine. Palestine's uniqueness, sorry, I have also to share my, to forward the slide. Yeah, I think we're good. Furthermore, Palestine's uniqueness, as I've said, however, is not only political, but also strategic, as it lies at the crossroads of Asia, Africa, and Europe. Instability in the West Bank raises concerns about possible disruptions in the Eastern Mediterranean and in energy exports to Europe, while control over Palestinian territories influences shape, alliances, and interventions across the border Middle East. Following the events of October 2023, Israel launched an unprecedented response. The military campaign in Gaza imposed a full siege with airstrikes and ground invasions. According to data by the Palestinian Ministry of Health on September 3, the tragic toll since the Israeli army's offensive to more than 67,000 deaths, with one-third of victims under 18 years old, specifically 19,424 children. However, it is estimated that the actual number of victims is much higher, as many remain buried under rubble, while over 1,022 people are injured and the 70% of infrastructure in Gaza has been destroyed. Mass killings of civilians, widespread famine, and deprivation of basic services indicate that Israel is committing a genocide. Furthermore, a report by Amnesty International in December 2024 concluded that based on its actions, Israel is committing a genocide. Despite the neutrality or even the detachment of many European states and other actors concerning the genocide in Gaza, a massive global solidarity movement has emerged with demonstrations in support of Palestine across the world. Millions of people mobilized, demanding a ceasefire and an end to the siege, while also calling for justice for the war crimes committed by Israel. Mass marches in major cities such as London and Paris, along with boycotts of products from companies supporting Israel, are among the most prominent examples of these actions. Solidarity also found expression through art and cultural festivals. In addition, the actions of the activist movement, Student Intifada, were particularly noteworthy, with more than 525 academic institutions in the United States and 174 dormitories hosting sit-ins and solidarity protests. Despite a climate of intimidation, including students' expulsions and visa suspensions for international students, the student movement stood firm and asserted its presence. Meanwhile, police raids on campuses became a routine, as exemplified by incidents at Columbia and Vanderbilt universities. It is evident that the solidarity movement in support of Palestine has transcended borders and ideologies. It was not a spontaneous development. It was the result of decades of advocacy for Palestinian rights. The destruction in Gaza, however, we have to notice that reflects the structural contradictions inherent in the capitalist system. Wars under capitalism serve economic and geopolitical interests. In Gaza, this dynamic is tied to the control of strategic corridors and energy resources in the Eastern Mediterranean. Furthermore, arms sales surged during the war, benefiting defense interests in the United States, Israel, and European countries. Europe, particularly, was the largest buyer of Israeli defense projects, purchasing 54% of total exports in 2024, while the Abraham Accords countries, United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Bahrain, and Sudan, bought 12% of Israel's total exports, amounting to $1 billion. The boom in the natural gas market in the Eastern Mediterranean has transformed the region into an energy hub, highlighting that capitalism commodifies natural resources, transforming them into instruments of profit. The region's energy wealth deepens conflicts and polarization, demonstrating that human life holds little significance compared to profit. The humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, characterized by famine, deprivation of basic infrastructure and necessities, reflects a recurring pattern in capitalist society, where populations deemed geopolitically expendable experience systemic deprivation. The blockade imposed on Gaza makes it dependent on external aid. In capitalism, crises are managed rather than resolved. Human suffering and anguish become normalized, something people cannot escape when faced with profit and geopolitical interests. Moreover, we should not forget that the war in Gaza unfolded within a framework where the United States and the European Union supported Israel as part of the security security strategy in the Middle East, while Russia and China seek to exploit the crisis to challenge Western dominance. These emerging dynamics demonstrate the priority capitalist states give to advancing their interests, perpetuating conditions and cycles of violence. The genocide in Gaza has created some deep fractures and significant doubts about whether institutions such as the United Nations and the International Court of Justice can enforce sanctions. More broadly, the institution of justice itself seems unable to intervene effectively and address Israel's action. Furthermore, an additional question arises regarding the reconstruction of Gaza. With 70% of its infrastructure destroyed, there is a risk of exploitation by multinational corporations whose primary goal will be profit. Models such as Great Trust, backed by American interests and proposing a 10-year trust over Gaza, clearly aim on humanitarian crisis for financial gain. The future of Gaza is not predetermined, but rather highly uncertain. It depends on whether countries on the global chessboard choose to prioritize justice and humanity over profit and dominance. The genocide in Gaza could serve as a lesson for the global community toward establishing a world order that ensures no people ever experience such painful moments again, moments that words cannot describe, or else the vicious cycle will continue endlessly. In conclusion, as we reflect on the tragedy unfolding in Gaza, we're confronted not only with the consequences of war, but with the deeper questions of justice and the future of our global order. The devastation in Gaza is not an isolated event, it is a mirror held up to the world, exposing the fractures in our collective conscience and the structures that perpetuate suffering. Yet, amid the darkness, the global wave of solidarity, the resilience of civil society, and the voices demanding justice remind us that change is possible. I would like to end with a few lines from the poem Sunbird by Fadi Judah, excuse me if I'm not pronouncing it right, which remind us resilience and hope can find it in the darkest times. I fled from living river to glistening sea, from all that we to all that me, fresh east to salty west, southern sweet, and northern free. There is a lake between us, and aquifers for cactus and basins, of anemone from the river to the sea, from wob to breathe in one, with owness I be from the river to the sea. Thank you very much.